Sometimes reading the same book over and over again always results in more knowledge. It's really weird how the brain works. You're reading something, it's almost like somebody's talking to you, it's like a conversation. So you're reading the book, and then often your brain gets triggered to go into a direction. And then you continue to read and you continue to travel in the same direction. And one chapter, two chapters, three chapters goes along, and you keep reading, and you finish the book. And then maybe 4, 5, 6 months down the track, you read the book again, and you're surprised to learn different things, reading the same damn letters, the same passages again. And it's because your brain, for whatever reason, decided to go into a different direction. It's like a different story being told. It triggers. So like information that you get exposed to triggers you in a way to kind of start wondering in a direction. I mean, that's what happens with me, all the time. Like, I would read, oftentimes I have to reread same pages as I'm reading the book because, well, my brain just went on a tangent. I read something really, really interesting, and then I started to reflect that on my previous knowledge, previous experiences. And before you know it, I've read a couple of pages that I haven't really paid attention to what I was reading, so I have to go back and reread it. That's the feeling that I had today going to the gym. I have not been to the gym, I want to say 10 months. Maybe I went in January once or something, I can't remember. But I haven't had annual leave for 10 months. My son was born in October last year. And for the most part, if I can recall correctly, I don't think I've gone to the gym more than once or twice in this period. So much so that my gym membership expired. And so today when I rocked up, I got another membership. And for the reason that I wanted to have exposure, I wanted to be in a different space of thinking. I wanted to have different tools at my disposal. So the last time I was in this gym, I feel like this time around I had this feeling today. It's really weird. I don't know if I can explain it properly. I had this feeling that I'm richer in knowledge this time around. Last time I was out at the gym, like I still had hip pain, and I still had all these different questions about different ideas. And today I entered the gym with like a very specific understanding. There's a story in my hips, and there's a story in my shoulder blades. Shoulders and hips. In shoulders, I know very, very well from what happened earlier this year with the AMRAP sets, that very much so the shoulder girdle and our whole structure around the shoulders, neck region is very much involved in the squat. Very much involved. And so that thoracic extension, that strength to keep the rack in a really good position and avoid kyphosis, avoid thoracic flexion, is critical to an upright squat, a strong squat. The same way, I've learned lots about the hips. I know now that hip abduction, just that plane of motion, targets all these different structures in my hip that keeps it healthy. And so all the squatting needs to be offsetted, needs to be rehabbed with certain exercises for me to stay healthy and still chase the same volume. And so now I entered the gym today, and I'm like, I have this understanding. Not only do I know how to warm up, but I also know what needs to happen before I get to the car and drive home. So I'm rereading the same old book. It's the same old gym. I've re-entered it. Basically the same equipment around the place and some similar faces around the place, which is really cool to bump into some of these people that I haven't seen for so long. But this time around, I feel like I'm rereading that same book, entering that same gym, but I feel like there's a different story to be told. I've got different thoughts. I've evolved in my thinking, my understanding of what's going on. So that's the feeling that I had today. I came in and I wanted to explore certain things. It was some of the things that motivated me. Well, it was an absolutely beautiful day today. I think spring is coming. 20 odd degrees, 21 or 2 degrees, sunny, beautiful. I drove to the gym with the windows down in the car. The car started with the first fire. First time I cranked it, it started. Usually because of the E85, they're splattering, 4, 5, 6 times before the car turns on. First crank, car turns on, driving down the streets, get to the gym. I've got my NBA top on, or my squat everyday top on. It's warm, it's beautiful, everyone's happy, everyone's, cheerful. Get to the gym, And I went, okay, I definitely have to deadlift. Every time I go to the gym, I have to deadlift because I don't go to the gym often. And deadlifting without the concern of noise and all that stuff, that's a beautiful thing. Also, their bars are really whippy, so it's always a really cool thing to feel like how much different it's going to be. And obviously squatting in the heels, that's a different thing. But what I really wanted to do is do a machine for the hips, which is an abduction movement. In this case, it's a seated abduction machine. I've taken that idea and I've progressed it for chapters upon chapters in the first nine months of this year, 8 months of this year. Huge revelation about that and my hip health. So I thought, okay, now I've done this exercise before, but now I have an understanding of what's going on and I've got evidence, right? I did that, and I also did another machine, which is, I remember in the past, I used to like doing this machine, but it was kind of like an afterthought because I didn't have a connection mentally that it was like a real need in my training. But now that I understand the role of the shoulder girdle stability, strength, now I'm doing this with like a bit of zest. And that is that machine where you do lateral raises, but instead of the weight being in your hands, it's like in your elbows. It's that padded machine that you'll see in a second. I did that, so I fired up my hips for a whole stack of sets with the abduction machine. I did a whole lot of lateral raises, lit up the traps like nobody's business. And that's another thing which I don't understand about this machine. When I do lateral raises and the weights in my hands, I feel it in my deltoids. I feel it basically in my shoulders. But when I do this machine, I feel it in my traps like nobody's business. I don't know if it's because I'm leaning over a little bit in that machine with the chest supported. I don't quite understand what's going on, but it's such a different stimulus to me. And that trap region is kind of what I've been looking at hitting. And then last night, I think it was, I was like, man, I'd love to try that machine again and to see whether it hits. And it hits it so well. So I don't know if I can muster something in my garage where I can do a lateral raise with the weight on my elbow somehow with bands maybe or something. I even thought about putting the dumbbells in the crook of my elbows and pinching it that way somehow. I don't know. I need to give that a bit of an exploration because I think it's like a great way of hitting that trap region really, really well, which is something that I, as I've spoken about at length, I think is a huge component of, somebody that's built like me that wants to squat really well. You got to have the upper back, thoracic strength and all that trap business. It needs to be really, really good. I had a blast today, man. I had an absolute blast today in the gym. Today is also the first day of my annual leave. I got 2 weeks of annual leave. So lots of ideas, lots of motivation to train a lot, maybe even twice a day. I don't know. I'll see how I go. Depends on sleep with the baby and whatnot. But the little fella's now 10 months, so I feel like we've gotten out of that, stage where, he's waking up a lot at night. I don't know. I mean, we've had the worst freaking winter as well. So much sickness. And today felt like it was like the true end to all of that. There's like a different kind of like tinge to the air. It seems like it's warmer. Summer's around the corner, it seems. And with that, I've joined the gym again. So I'll be going back and forth, exploring some of those machines. Obviously, it might not be an everyday thing. During the annual leave, it might be, gym and home. But I want to kind of like play around with all this equipment, in the gym. Like I haven't even spoken about the role of the lats and what I've discovered with barbell rows and what I think that does to the upper back and squats. And there's like a stack of machines over there that you can do chest supported. Rows, T-bar rows, like there's all these machines, there's the pulling machines. So I really want to like just give that a real go. And I think when you're training in that sense, barbell rows are great and I still love them, but getting away with something cheaper is also beneficial. So that's the motivation for me, joining the gym. Obviously I've got barbells at home and I've got lots of stuff at home, but I want to have more tools to play with. And even when I go back to work, maybe once a week I can go in there and like explore different ideas, different angles with the back. And, if something really, really catches my fancy, I might consider buying it at home. But Space is an issue. It's already full at home, and I've kind of gotten the stuff that I want to get. And today, I wanted to do other things. I wanted to do the leg press as well, but my glutes are so freaking spent from the other day of doing the 3 sets of 10 banded squats. So deadlifting today felt weak. Squatting felt weak, but it was good. And as soon as I got into this was the interesting. I don't think I took a video of this. As soon as I got into the leg press machine, I started kind of messing around with it. Basically, what I wanted to do is do a leg press machine with my heels on. I don't think I've ever done that, so I wanted to feel how, see how that feels. I didn't have any weight on the leg press, and the first couple of reps, I felt my glutes already kind of like, okay, this is hitting my glutes a lot. It's not going to be all quads at all. It's going to be lots and lots of glutes, and my glutes are spent. At least the glute max is. And that's kind of where I decided, okay, let me hit the glute medius and minimus on that abduction machine. I went over there, and that felt really, really well. So the banded squats seem to be still hitting the glute max more so, because the glute abduction machine, the abduction machine in the gym felt really, really well. It didn't feel like I was picking up the same scab that I created a couple of days ago with the banded squats. So that muscle felt fresh, even though the banded squats should be targeting the abductors. Seems like they were quite fresh when I hit that machine. So maybe what's happening with the banded squats is that the band is overpowering me, forcing me into a knee valgus, and in a way, like making the glute max work even more, because there's this like stripper squat happening. And even the little strength that I have in the glute abductors, or the hip abductors, they're getting overpowered by the band, and it's just, I go into that knee valgus good morning type of squat even more so, and now even assisted with the damn band. So I think what I need to do is I need to get a lighter band, much lighter band, that I can get a stimulus from, but still easily overpower and send the knees out. Because right now this band is not letting me do that. It's basically an immovable object. It's very, very strong. So maybe one of these days I'll go to Kmart and I'll go to the same aisle where my wife got these, and I'll try and find the weakest version of that, the weakest one. I mean, that tells you where I'm at with in terms of like my strength. The glute, the side stuff is weak for whatever reason. Last night I even thought about like doing some basketball drills. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever played basketball, but like that defensive stance, when you're playing defense and you're doing the lateral, left and right movement to stay in front of the ball handler. We used to do drills like, during basketball training back and forth. And I believe that was mostly, it's a lot of different things, but I think hip abduction is a large part of playing defense as a point guard, shooting guard, as a perimeter player. So, even like, doing some of those drills, which is, very athletic, plyometric drills, I reckon that would do very, very well for me, the glute abductors. And probably, the time that I spent doing the jumps, the vertical jumps, and I strung 30-something days in a row of hitting 200. And that was as a result of me doing those hops, those jumps, triples, fives, whatever I was doing at the time. I think anytime you jump in a vertical leap, I think the abductors have to fire really, really hard in order for your knees not to buckle in. And so maybe what I was experiencing then with those jumps was basically a mild exercise for the abductors. And maybe that was the connection. Maybe that's the connection between the AMRAP period earlier this year and that 31-day in a row of hitting 200 kilos. Maybe there's a crossover there of similar structures being hit with different methods. That's something for me to think about as well. But yeah, machines are great because they isolate the shit out of it, and they make you really kind of test different fibers of what they mean. So now that I went to the gym today and did the abduction machine really well, like I didn't even train the abductors, makes me wonder about what the bands are really doing at home. Maybe they're not hitting my glute, side glutes, minimus and medius. Maybe they're just overpowering them so much that it's just all glute max. Something to think about for sure. Appreciate you guys, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.